Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is Wednesday, the 22nd of December, 2021. It's almost Christmas, and we're having a little bit of abbreviated, but a nice show and tell and hangout today. The topic for today is witnessed falls. So in the meteorite world, there are falls and there are finds. And today we're going to be discussing and showing off our collection of fall meteorites, witnessed fall meteorites. So I thought it'd be pretty cool to start out with some recent videos. All of these have the location and the date next to them. And this is from Hungary. This is one of the freshest ones. This just happened 5 days ago. Wait for it. There it goes. That was a slow burn, and there's no disruptions in it. There's no bolide events with it disrupting unless it's behind the cloud cover. But that's a nice long trajectory, and hopefully the scientists and there's good Doppler radar and stuff, they can track that down. This one just about 5 months ago. This is spectacular.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Nice. Oh, did you see the multiple trails just before it ended the incandescent flight?
Yep. You can tell that thing just explodes. Yeah. And there's like 5 pieces visible right there.
Nice. That had to have put rocks on the ground. And there's a lot of southern Idaho that's pretty decent for searching.
Yeah, this is gorgeous. Could look at all that power.
Yeah.
All that energy.
Nice. Yeah, there's got to be rocks on the ground from that one.
I was saying one of the great things about our hobby and our passion is we get to see the events like this and see the raw power of these objects coming in from space, colliding with our atmosphere. And then we actually have friends who go out and find them in the deserts and collect them. Wow. So this one is over Florida, Georgia, and Shreveport, Louisiana. I'm sorry, Freeport. Nice burn, and then a couple bolide events at the end, which that disruption is what usually puts rocks on the ground. This one is seen over many states in the United States. Just a cute little bolide event at the end, nothing major. This one is actually caught on 2 different cameras. We're going to watch both of them. So this is over Quebec. And if you think the trees were in your way, we have another camera angle.
Without trees. For these people with porch cameras.
I know. Several disruptions on that one.
Nice.
That one had a really steep angle.
Yeah. It's really hard to tell on the angle, though. I find myself perplexed sometimes because they look like grazers, but other angles look like they're punching through. Boom. Now, for someone else viewing that at a different latitude or longitude, they're not gonna see that bolide vent so low in the ground. They may be over their head or behind them still.
Yeah, and as we use more non-traditional sources of data for these observed falls, the closer that you are to the event, the more likely you are to hear sonic boom. And Chelyabinsk is a great one for that. There were many sonic booms, and Chelyabinsk was a little unique in that it came in at a very shallow angle and disrupted multiple times at fairly low altitude. That one there, you would want to know who heard the sonic boom on that one, because that would narrow down the search area.
Wow, that is just tremendous power. That blows me away every time I see that video. And I put this presentation together, so I've already watched that like 10 times today in slow motion.
Topher, sometimes when you're watching that bolide event, it seems like it's either a bright yellow, bright white, or there's a green flash in there. Mm-hmm. Is that due to the spectrum of light in the atmosphere that causes that color?
I'm glad you asked that question, Art. I mean, like, I couldn't have fed you a better question to ask. Thanks, man. No, We actually tapped Pat on the shoulder this week, and I don't know if he was able to do the research or not. Do I have a nod, yes or no? Oh, good. We're going to kick it right over to Professor Pat with an impromptu answer arts question.
Cool. Well, without lab coat this time, since it's like the holidays and stuff. Everybody's done the chemistry experiment in high school chemistry where you grab some titanium salts and you put it in the flame, and then you grab some sodium salts and put it in the flame, and then, you know, and you get different colors, and that's how you get the colors for fireworks. But for meteorites, it's not really the case. So we don't have, you know, these simple salts of various metals that are burning on the surface of the meteorite, because of course, because of ablative cooling, the surface melts and then it gets carried away very rapidly, and so the rock doesn't get hot enough even on the surface to get that kind of coloration, even if there were metal salts on the surface. The light from a meteor, well, a meteor, you know, a meteoroid passing through the atmosphere, the light is almost entirely from the plasma ball out in front of the meteorite. You know, when we get ones with color, they'll be kind of greenish. A lot of these things, you know, are low enough light events that we see them with the less sensitive, never can remember if it's rods or cones. I think it's rods that mostly just measure luminance, not chrominance. And so, you know, we see it essentially as a black and white event. But if you had a good enough camera with a big enough lens, gathering enough light, you could get some color. But most of the time that color is started greenish. It's really about the plasma color of the gas in front of it.
Yeah.
And our atmosphere is mostly nitrogen, then oxygen and some other stuff, but in small amounts. So that is a old wives' tale thing that comes up in the meteorite groups about every 6 or 8 months. And
yeah, you see this picture of different colored fireballs entering the atmosphere, and everyone saying, you know, basically writing down a classification. We can tell exactly what this is. Well, no, you can't. I wanted to show everyone one of the freshest meteorites that I own. This is a witnessed fall that just happened 47 days ago.
Wow.
Dum, dum, dum.
Oh,
Wow.
That's
cool.
Look at how stipply the crust is.
Yeah.
It's a accreted type of crust.
Yeah.
It's really, really thick and also brown in nature at parts. Look at that. This one fell in Mauritania on November 6th.
Cool.
Wow.
And yeah, a lot of it's probably an L6 or L7 with pyroxenes in there.
That's cool.
I think it's going to look super nice sliced up. You can see how thick the crust is.
Now we're seeing quite a green cast to it. Tober, is that accurate?
That's real. That's accurate. Yeah, it has pyroxene in it. I saw, I'm quoting someone, and I'm not going to give them credit because I forget their name and I don't want them to be proven wrong, but the initial optical analysis of a learned person was an L6 or L7 with pyroxene.
Cool.
And that's, yeah, because it does have a very weird looking texture to it, and there is green in there. So I have 3 of these stones and I'm super happy. This is the largest one.
Cool.
And to think that was in space 47 days ago.
Yeah.
That's what blows my mind. The price of meteorites, for those that aren't up to speed or just are curious, the price of meteorites are greatly affected by a lot of different features. And one of them, obviously, is if it's a witness falls, how fresh is it? How recently is it? Especially if something happens during the Tucson show, you better believe the finders are getting top dollar for those rocks. So this one right here is not that badly priced. It's like $5 or $6 a gram at the most. There's one that just landed, I think, in Algeria, that they thought might have been the first witnessed lunar, but it turns out it looks more like an Aubrite now. You guys heard about that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, the pictures were, when I first saw the pictures, I thought it was lunar, and it still looks more lunar than Aubrite, in my opinion. But that, if you can get some of that in your collection for about $100 a gram, you're doing yourself well. So yeah. And I don't think that price, the thing about with falls is, well, with most meteorites, but falls in particular, because you don't know how much will be found. So
Right.
the first couple pieces may go at an exuberant rate, and then all of a sudden they start finding a bunch and the price drops, or vice versa. None are found, and the first people who bought it are the ones who have it. Hey, Pat, let's check in with you for an update on Tarda.
Yeah, so we were talking about pricing and fresh falls and so forth, and occasionally there's a meteorite that really ticks all the boxes, where it's an observed fall. It is very scientifically important. It is a rare classification. It's the type of meteorite that doesn't withstand much weathering at all. And occasionally something ticks all those boxes, and one of those is Tarda. It's a carbonaceous. I'm trying to look it up on the MetBull here, and I think it's ungrouped. It
C2
may
ungrouped.
Yeah, thank you, Oz. And there's more sciences going on it, and there's more stuff that may come out, and that classification might even be changed. And of course, the ungrouped are, we don't know what it is. It's kind of like this, and then they may eventually find other ones that are very similar and make a new group from them. But Tarda ticks all of those boxes, and it was $450 a gram, especially if you could get one super fresh. Some number of those were oriented, and some very small number of them also showed this amazing iridescent blue sheen to the surface, sort of over the top of the fusion crust. And so, that's one that ticks all the boxes. That one was expensive. It stayed expensive. Mine I got from a finder in the field for $450 a gram.
Yeah, and I'm not a plug for my inventory, but I have a bunch in inventory because one of the I believe is a main mass holder. I made a purchase from him before most people did, so I have a bunch of sub-gram pieces, and they have fusion crust. They're beautiful. And you are correct, Pat. That ticks a lot of boxes and really, really carries that price. And I don't think that value is going to go down.
No.
I do want to show you something that I'm nervous to even touch. It's not mine, but let's see if we can get you guys to see it.
Is that part of the Ryugu sample return?
Oh, I wish. Hold on. I am so nervous to hold this thing. I'm really hoping, yeah, you can see it there.
Yeah.
Carbonaceous.
This is Winchcombe.
Oh, that's Winchcombe. Wow.
This is a 0.2 gram piece of Winchcombe, and I'm trying to get it set up.
Wow.
Oh, look at that.
Oh boy.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It's super small, super sexy, crusted. It's not mine, but it ticks even more boxes than Tarda. It's a hammered fall, and there's only 600 grams of this in the world.
Yeah.
So you were mentioning Tarda holding its value at about $300 to $500 a gram, depending on piece and other features, whether it's rollover lipped, oriented, fusion crusted. Winchcombe, you're looking at about $5,000 a gram.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Very little that was available to collectors. The main masses were donated to the British Museum of Natural History.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that I do want to touch. This belongs to Mark Lyon, so I appreciate Mark you letting that out of your site for a few hours so we can show it today. That was very generous of you. I do want to make mention of the Wilcock family that were actually hammered by Winchcombe. I did an interview with them just a few weeks after the event. We stay in communication. They have launched their very own webpage regarding the meteorite. So there is a lot of information there from a personal point of view. A lot of us talk about the scientific point of view of meteorites, and that's what this enterprise is about. but we also don't want to forget the human stories of it. So these people were just average, ordinary people, and all of a sudden the world fell in their lap and they couldn't escape the meteorite. They had to start a web page. They had to get their driveway cut up and put in the museum. So I'll be sending out some information about their web page shortly, but they've asked me to kind of get the word out about that. That's the Wilcox.
And now they're ruined for life.
Yeah. So hopefully they'll start collecting. Let's check in with Chris Monk real fast with his hand up, see if he has something witness to show us.
I do have something witnessed. So a couple of which we've already talked about, but this is Tarda.
Mm-hmm.
This is a 0.577 gram Tarda, and I have it displayed in sand from the region.
Mm-hmm.
And in my collection, because it's so small, I have it underneath a magnifying glass that just kind of hovers above it, so I can look at it every day when I come home from work.
Nice.
And everything I'm
sweet.
going to show you right now is going to be carbonaceous. So here's another carbonaceous fall. This is Aubrite. This is a CM2, 4.83 grams.
That's a
Nice.
beautiful, hefty hunk of chunk, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Is that crusted on the outside, or is that a fragment?
it's
Oh, there it is.
crested on one side.
Wow.
Mm.
Now, Aquazarchus was in Costa Rica. Yeah, good. You have the date on there. I was going to say it was about 3 years ago. Yeah. So, and that one is holding its value really well. As that one, probably $100 to $150 a gram for a nice piece with crust on it like that.
And then the infamous, and I showed this one other time, but this is my piece of Winchcombe.
Oh,
Wow.
super jelly.
So this one is a 0.064 gram, 228.21
So we're,
CM2.
Mm.
You're way more bold than me. I'm not taking it out of the case.
yeah.
No.
Well, I only took it out to share it with you guys. It's back in the case. No one's breathing on it. Carbonaceous are beautiful when they're crusted like that. The inside of them sometimes looks very black with white little CAIs, nothing hugely spectacularly beautiful, but carbonaceous, like Pat was saying, due to their very nature of being very easy to deteriorate in the first rain, you got to have a piece with fresh crust, and that had to be collected as quickly as possible for it to remain that way. We got Gregory in Florida checking in.
Hi, Topher. How are you?
Hey, buddy, doing well.
All right. Hey, well, I went through all my falls and I counted 59, but what I'm going to do is just show one meteorite out of all of those that I think is really, really special, and that is Portales Valley. Does anyone know why Portales Valley is unique among? It's an H6.
I know it's missing from my collection. It's expensive. It's super beautiful and has like lots of linear metal in it.
Yes, that's exactly it. And here it is. I got this barrel pit.
Wow.
See, look at that metal in there. Isn't that beautiful?
That is
So this
beautiful.
is a these are the labels I put together here.
About
So that's
$300
12.2 grams.
cost,
They got
yeah.
that little barrel
Yeah,
pit price.
wow.
And look at that. Here's the other side. Look at that metal. Isn't
That is
beautiful?
crazy. There's only,
I mean,
I think there's one other.
that is really, really unique.
I think there's one other meteorite that has metal linear veins like that, if that's the right term, but that is a gorgeous one. And I don't have that one yet. So
You got to get it, though.
I may have to
You
hit
have
you
all the
up.
connections. You're a dealer, man.
Well, I'll tell you what, that is a absolute gorgeous one. Now I know why you were able to narrow down to 59 in your collection to that one.
That's what I think.
Wow. Yeah. I
And
know-
actually, this was 1998, so this was really at the dawn of the internet. So I didn't really know how this was going to look like. You just had a description,
Yeah.
with metal veins, and I got it. And I'm like, whoa. So it's
Yeah,
not like today where you actually see what it looks like, I didn't know. So it's like,
exactly. Back in the day, I wasn't involved in meteorites back then, but there was just mailing lists or paper
yeah, mailing
lists
lists,
that
right.
listed the weight, the name, the classification, maybe one or two features about it, and a price tag.
Right, right. Whether it's a slice, partial, complete, and show, yeah, that's all he said, partial slice with
Yeah.
veins going through it. And I said, okay.
Well, this gives me a great segue to give a 30-second plug to a new enterprise that's going to make buying meteorites a lot easier and safer. Coming soon will be meteoritevault.com. It is a web page, if you want to simplify it and say it is the marrying of an auction house like a Christie's and an auction site like eBay, putting them together. So you have a curated collection. Every item on there is reviewed and vetted by experts, and you'll be able to look at pictures and videos. You can't do videos on eBay. You'll be able to filter by size, by price, by witnessed, by palestite only, by this only. It's going to be a search engine and a tool built just for safe e-commerce of meteorites. So it'll make the experience a lot easier, especially when you compare it to the mailing lists of 1980s, 1990s. So that's coming soon. So stay tuned for that. I'm really excited about that venture. We have Marco Geiser on vacation and joining us from Germany. How are you, buddy?
Fine. I hope you too, guys. Yeah, it's fantastic to join live on the Hangout. And of course, I prepared two nice witnessed falls. Mm-hmm. So the first one is Vinales, which happened on the February 1st in 2019. And I have to say that, yeah, I was not the biggest fan of Vinales because there are many pieces that show corrosion and are, I would say, not as fresh as other known observed falls, until I found this one.
Oh, yeah.
And here we go.
That is a freshie.
Mm. Oh, look at that. Focus, baby, focus.
Brown crust that we discussed in the Hangout last time.
Mm-hmm.
The very active oxygen in the plasma.
We're getting hints and glints. There it is of those flow lines.
But you can see exactly those flow lines, that very fresh crust. Of course, radial flow lines. So yeah, this piece is oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And also what is interesting, if I turn it around.
Wow, there's no shock veins in there.
There are no shock veins, but I hope you can see that green residues on the piece, on the surface.
Yeah.
Or greenish residues.
Yeah. What do you think
These
that is?
Plants.
Vegetation.
Wow.
So under the microscope, you can see that these are residues of I don't know, grass or something like that.
That is super awesome.
So the chain of custody of this one was perfect then, in that it was not roughly handled or
yeah, or pre-rain, or I don't know why, but yeah, this is, I think, a very special piece of Vinales.
I've seen a lot, and I have a lot of Vinales, and nothing like that with flow lines. That's gorgeous. So Marco's in Germany, and he watches the replay every week, and he always comments on every single video that we release. So he is a true blue Knowledge Bolide crew member, even though he's across the ocean. And we love when he takes advantage of his holidays to join us. So thank you so much, Marco.
I thank you, Topher.
Yeah, absolutely. It's our pleasure. I didn't want to cut you off. Did you have anything else you wanted to show?
This piece, what you can see here, is also a witnessed fall from September 2nd, 2015. Do you have any guesses?
2015.
Yeah,
Is it from Turkey?
exactly.
Sierra
Yeah,
Sek?
this is
Maybe-
Sericicek. Yeah,
How do you say it, Marco?
I say Sericicek. I don't know. You can say Sericicek.
Mhm. Yeah, it's one of those we always want to listen to someone else who, especially if they're European, I want to listen to the way they say it.
Very, very glassy fusion crust on that.
And
Super glassy fusion crust, and I turn it around, you can see it's absolutely complete. So would say, yeah, 99% crusted, that piece.
Wow.
It weighs 32 grams.
oh,
And what I really like on that is, of course, first it's witnessed Howardite fall, which is, yeah, quite rare. And I also like the crust, the color of the crust, because it's not as black as you know it from eucrites, but it had that a greenish color. And I think that makes Sericicek very special.
this is our holiday show, but it's not St. Patty's Day. We don't do green meteorites today, man. I mean, I don't want to say a price that would be insulting to someone if they paid a lot more for it, but something like that, just because I get a lot of questions about the value of meteorites. So something like that, a 30-gram complete oriented with crust on the Sierra Sek, I would put that at probably around $40 a gram and up. So just because we get a lot of questions about asking about, what meteorites are worth. So. Okay, guys, we've been talking about and showing some of our fresh and other witness falls, but now is the time we like to deep dive into some science with Mike Kelly. He put a little presentation together for us, even though he's not at home this week. Mike, how are you, buddy?
Doing great. How's everyone else doing?
I'm well,
Good.
man.
Yeah. So today's it's more fact driven than necessarily, I guess, science based like the classification ones are. So I know we were doing witness falls today. So just the cover images on there, you see a couple of illustrated images of some different falls of meteorites. And again, this goes back to show you that for a long time, kind of in recorded history, people have been recording things falling out of the sky, whether or not they were believed to be meteorites or whatnot. Atmospheric phenomena, to include meteorites, goes all the way back to the grandfather of meteorology, not meteoritics, kind of Aristotle, who gave us a breakdown of meteorology for anything that falls from the sky, from rain to, according to him, rainbows and meteoroids. So diverse field. So back in the day, it was pretty straightforward. It was either a witness fall or it wasn't a witness fall. And that was all the way up to about 2015 when they kind of made a proposal to the change on how we classify falls. So again, back then there was documentation of an observed event. And if there were things that were found and were tied to that event, then it was decided that that was a witnessed fall. Kind of after 2015, things changed a little bit. And some of those reasons for change was stuff that Topher kind of mentioned, some of the valuation of a meteorite is based on whether or not it's a fall or not. So there was a lot of things turned in with whatever evidence was found for falls. And there was kind of a little bit of a pressure, for things to be put in as either a find or a fall and be highly accurate. And the NOMCOM doesn't care. From a perspective of they treat everything fairly, regardless of where it fell in the world. There's either circumstantial evidence that says it is or isn't. So in order to kind of take away some of that pressure, what they did was in 2015, there's a paper put out that kind of broke it down further. Besides just falls and finds, they added a couple of different groupings in there. If it is a fall and it's confirmed, which would be strong circumstantial evidence that's corroborated that the meteorites found on the ground can be related to that observed fall description, then it'll get now a YC in the MetBull. So that would be a fall confirmed. So Y is just for yes under the fall column and C is for confirmed. The second type of fall in there now is a YP, which is a yes probable. So in that case, there's circumstantial evidence, there's a little bit of doubt. And again, that could be either the facts of the the fall itself, or it could be that the meteorites found might be from a different fall. So again, that changes things a little bit, and you'll get YP. And then if it's not in any of those categories, then you're looking at it being a find. And under the finds, you got a find probable, which again, chances are it could be related, but there is adequate substantial evidence to say it's not related. And again, it had to have been submitted in those first three categories as a fall, so with fall information. Again, on the first two, it's corroborated. On the third one, it's likely denied. Also, you have in there fall doubtful. So again, also submitted with fall information, but the NOMCOM's not buying it, doesn't believe that there's enough circumstantial evidence at all to say it's even a fall or even close to being a fall. And then finally, the last category, the fifth category, is just a straight up find. So no information submitted of an observed event that it would have come from. So
and Mike, there's been a few of these in recent memory, like Gadamus, nicknamed Gadamus, Hamra 346 is the official name. That was supposedly going to be a witnessed fall, but ended up being not. I forget exactly how it's classified, but that was one where they were looking for more documentation, not just finders in the field documenting the fall, but they were looking for a newspaper article or some other documentation that would link those stones to this event in the sky.
yeah, certainly. And like I mentioned, you could have it either, you could have issues on one of two ends. You could have issues on the observed event end, which it sounds like, Gadamus, that's what ended up happening to the Gadamus fall, was they didn't have enough on the observed end of it to kind of prove that it was a fall, versus on the other end of it, where the found pieces might have something about them that would indicate it wasn't related to that specific event that was referenced. For instance, if there was 3 or 4 observations in a very short period, and rocks were all found on the ground in the same spot, then how do you tell which one ties to which one?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think one of the things with Gadamus was also they were looking for better pinpointed and documentable GPS coordinates. So I know that was part of it for that one.
So some of the numbers, and I know Art had brought this up, was what are the numbers out there? So in MetBull, there are 1,360 things that pop up when you search for falls. And now that includes the confirmed falls, the old system where it just said a fall, yes or no, and those YPs, the probable falls. Then also mixed in there, it's very small, but you have 120 items in there that are considered doubtful meteorites. Some of them are doubtful iron, some of them are doubtful stones. And there's one really oddball, which is the Sikot-Alin crater, which for some reason shows up as a fall, even though it is a crater and not even a meteorite. And then again, the rest of those 1,360 are legit falls. Art was wondering at totals. So totals get kind of weird because you get into the MetBull, you get things like the Antarctics, where every piece found was a find and it gets its own number. So it skews the numbers a little bit. But right now there's currently 75,346 entries in MetBull total. So again, if you get rid of some of that duplication, it's going to be a little less than that. But it kind of shows you the find versus fall ratio in a very coarse scale. That discredited category encompasses all sorts of things, like there's some from that I remember being like stories that it went through a windshield and then they looked at it and they went back and it's literally a rock that, like, the trajectory they could figure out, it bounced off a hillside and went through the car. But it was an odd looking rock at the time, and it got put in as a meteorite.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's one of those complete discredited meteorites. Just opinions and cool ones, just in case people are interested in adding some falls to their collection. This is, like I said, there's 1,300 and something of them out there. So this is by far definitely not anywhere close to a complete list, but just the ones that I kind of thought were pretty cool. The oldest thing out there that you won't find in your collection and you can't get because it's maybe a meteorite, maybe isn't, is the Agiospertomi. So that is the oldest thing listed in MetBull. And that just goes to prove that back in the ancient Greek days, they believed that things fell from the heavens. And two of those things were the Aegis Ptolemy and the Palladium. So again, that's old Greek stories out of there from Plato and also from Aristotle. And again, the Palladium was believed to be a wooden statue of Pallas Athena. But again, wood statues don't fall out of the sky. Big stone rocks do. And Aegis Ptolemy, which, if it was a meteorite and they did lose it, it's impressive because it was supposedly the size of a wagon load. So it was by no small means a small meteorite.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the oldest confirmed meteorite in the MetBull, you get Nagata from Japan. And again, that's like 400 something Anno Domini.
Wow.
So it is really, really, really old.
Wow.
I do believe it is all in one piece and it is all enshrined. So you won't be getting that one in your collection.
No.
Which brings us on to the third category, which is the oldest thing you probably will get or may get if you're lucky, which is Ensisheim. So Ensisheim, France, again, that's a classic fall because it kind of helped bring about the firm belief that meteorites do indeed fall from the heavens and are rocks. And then the next category I have down there is just a list of what I consider old classics. These are ones you run across a bunch of times. A lot of them have articles in the Meteorite Times, quarterly publication. And these are all 200-year-plus-year-old meteorites. So they're pretty old. And you got things like Luce and Siena and Barbican and Wold Cottage and Legel. And then you also have some of the original, things like Weston, the first American fall, falls into that 200-plus-year-old category, where again there was still disbelief at the time that meteorites kind of fell from the sky. And then you have two eucrites at the end of that list, which are Saturn and Juvenus, which you get the Saturn trend, and Juvenus used to have its own kind of trend to it. So again, eucrites not a terribly long fall list, and they're old and they kind of set some hard science to them. Second to last on the list, I just put down two staples because everyone should probably have a Chelyabinsk in their collection and a Psychodelin. So those are classics. They're readily available. There's not a ton of iron falls, so something like a Psychodelin is very cool and available for folks who are just getting into meteorites, or and then finally, who doesn't like type falls? Pretty much the majority of the type specimens are actually type falls. You got odd ducks like Ben Cuban, which aren't, but everything else is named after a fall that was the type of that specimen that set the trend. But a couple of my favorites, Angro dos Reis, Pat mentioned, like Tarda pretty much hits a lot of the high notes on there. I chose that one as one of my all-time favorites because of the same reasons that Pat mentioned. It pretty much checks every block imaginable. It's a type fall for the Angrites. It's old. It's not quite in my historic category of 200 plus years, but 1869 is pretty long time ago. It landed in a bay, and they actually recovered pieces out of the bay by skin diving down and getting it.
Wow.
So the fact that they found it at all after watching this thing fall into the water is amazing. Mm-hmm. They recover it. It goes to the museum. A shyster goes down there and tries to steal it. They catch him with it in his shoe going to the airport. So it's got international intrigue going on to it. And then thankfully, that Natural History Museum in Brazil burnt to the ground in a tragic museum fire. And luckily, Angro dos Reis survived.
Wow.
So, I mean, talk about, every possible thing going on for it.
Yeah.
That one's got it all.
That didn't want to be in anyone's collection. They wanted to be left alone.
No, and you were mentioning prices, and that one, like I said, if you can find it, $7 to $10 a gram.
Because Angra is the type fall for Angrites, correct? So,
yes.
And any Angrite's going to cost you $100 to $125 a gram, and it's not even the type fall with this history that you can't get.
Yeah. So it's impressive in its own rights. Second one I got down there, and I'm going to butcher the name, Sayakalaga. That's the Ann Hodges meteorite.
Silicaga?
Yeah, there you go. I don't do pronunciations. But again, everyone knows that piece for the bit that hit Ann Hodges and being, potentially the only ever confirmed meteorite hit on a person. There are others out there that supposedly have hit people like Ambale. Again, how good is the corroboration on the different stories? The Ann Hodges is 100% proved. So, but I think what I love about that one is pretty much all the pieces you get are not from the Ann Hodges stone. They are from a stone from Julius Kemp McKinney, and he found it on the road a day later, went ahead and was able to successfully sell his, where Ann had all sorts of trouble with hers on provenance, and who owned it because she was a resident, not a owner of the property. And he was able to get a house and a car and set his family up phenomenally, which is just a great success story on him finding that one. And then to round off my list, I got Burge Bowl and the car hitter. So Burge Bowl is another one that landed in the ocean, the Baltic Sea, under sea ice and was recovered. So that's kind of crazy. And finally, I go after the car hitters. So that's everything I got for today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike. I really appreciate you checking in on us and making this presentation, especially while you're on vacation with your family. So that's dedication, folks. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, no worries. And you had a couple of kids running through here. Apologize for that.
Yeah. One of the great things about living in Arizona is we have great areas to hunt and search for meteorites. And one of the local hunters and very, very successful hunters, I'm going to call it, is Ben Fissler. Ben is a knowledgeable like crew member, and there he is. A bunch of your pictures and put them on one sheet here so we can take a look at these. Tell us about your successes at Holbrook, buddy.
Oh yeah, well, all these Holbrooks were ones I found. I have a lot of them. These are all ranging in size from 3 grams to almost 9 grams, and they're typical. Most of the ones you see out there these days are little peas in the gram or sub-gram size range.
Ben, I'm glad you mentioned that, because these are large. These are unusually large, and I apologize for the editing and cropping of these pictures, but I really didn't have a choice. You can't see the grams very well, but they're not 65 and 85 gram pieces. They're large, but they're not enormous.
Yeah, those are the tenths and hundreds. But yeah, those are nice finds these days, because they of course picked up the easy stuff right after the fall the next day.
And this was back 110 years ago. Yep. And it still has that beautiful crust on it. Yeah.
I have some that look like they fell yesterday. There's and others that are extremely weathered. There's a great variety.
Look, there's a Orient one for Marco.
That one is 8.72 grams you were on, and that one is complete and completely complete.
Yeah. Look at this one here. Even with the fusion crust broken away, you see these chondrules. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, these are beautiful, man.
It's not uncommon to find some with a perfectly round hole in the surface where one came right out of the crust.
How many hours or miles do you think you've put in Holbrook, buddy?
I can't calculate it because I've been hunting that strewn field for 18 years. Wow. And I have more than 300 finds.
That is tremendous. Look at this one. Like, if that's not Stipley fusion crust after 110 years, I don't know what is.
That one is 4 grams even. It's perfect. It's complete.
And to go back to our conversation about valuation of meteorites, these Holbrooks are expensive per gram, and the fact that these are way larger than your normal little tiny peas that you have to double check and triple check and get an eye loop and totally make sure. I mean, these are multi-gram stones, so these are going to carry a premium. I don't even know what they're worth, and I'm not gonna ask you to sell them either, because I know they're near and dear to you.
It was an amazing fall because again, in 1912, the sun, it was a July 19th evenings, like 6:30. Sun's still out till like 9, so most of the town got to see the fall. I mean, it was not just a boom there were sonics that went on for minutes and minutes, rumbling, and then the smoke trail. So they all were able to go out there initially that evening and again in the morning. They recovered a lot.
That's fantastic. I would have loved to have been there 100 years ago with my bucket, just tossing them in.
I know. You wouldn't stop to eat, drink, or sleep.
I have no need for that. I'm an android. Oh man, that is good stuff. Well, thank you so much, Ben, because those aren't just meteorites. That's not like 50 grams of meteorites. That is love, sweat, tears, pain, blisters, everything you can imagine. Probably a pop tire or two.
A lot of boot leather.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you so much for sharing it. I really appreciate it. Hey, Chris Monk, you have something to show us, buddy? Another witness, I hope.
I do. So the one we haven't talked about tonight in 2008, November 20th, actually at 5:26 p.m. And I really like this one. And it's about just over 10 grams. But what I like about it the most is it's an in cut and you get to see the inside.
Nice.
And for those of you that know me, I like to cut everything. I didn't cut this, but I like seeing that inside matrix.
Buzzard Cooley is a Canadian and one of the most gorgeous meteorites inside. It really is a very, very beautiful meteorite.
The fusion crust on this one is very pretty as well too. It has some glossy bits, but it has that perfect matte black body.
And you can see that I'm with a couple of little tiny nicks. I mean, even though this is an in cut, that like the whole thing is just crusted except for the cut face.
Yeah.
And such a beautiful matrix inside.
Yeah. I think, is that an H5, if I remember correctly?
H4.
H4, yeah. So you're going to have a higher metal content than the other chondrites, and you're going to see some well rounded chondrules in there.
Yeah, a lot of metal, a lot of crust. This is one of my favorite witnesses.
I have 3 witness falls that I'm going to do a speed run through because they are unique enough to be seen. Let's check out the first one. We were talking earlier about a witnessed Aubrite. Well, here is one of the original witnessed Aubrites. Pena Blanca Spring, in Texas.
And that one landed in water too, and they fished it out of the spring pond, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, I remember that. Aubrites are weird looking meteorites with the large crystals in there, but this is a really, really super nice piece. It's, as you can see, the surface area to weight ratio is off the scale. It's the thinnest, largest slab I've seen. Here is another rare witnessed type. It's a Meso A34. So this fell in Iowa in 1879, and it's Estherville. When you look at this, you can really see the differences in the silicates, the metal, tan and green highlighted with really thick metal. This is Estherville. Shout out to my grandmother, Esther.
Huh? Beautiful.
And my final witnessed one that I'm going to show off is one from a island country that only has 2 witness falls, or 2 meteorites.
Madagascar. Benanitra.
Exactly. Madagascar only has 2 known meteorites, and they're both witnessed. And that's because you got to see it in order to get it there. But Benanitra,
90 grammar or one of those.
Oh, wow. Benanitra is an expensive meteorite.
Madagascar is mostly jungle, so there not too many.
I don't know
good
what the
spots
other one
where
from
you can actually see
Madagascar
rocks
is,
on
but
the
now I
ground.
have a
It's all
hankering
plants.
for it. Sorry, Mike, real quick, you had something that you wanted to show off on a sciencey level, you said?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up one fact. So I brought up in the presentation, that when they're doing the actual MetBull classifications, the scientific committee, the NOMCOM doesn't really care, whether it's a fall or a fine, but the scientists themselves doing things do care. And one of the things I wanted to highlight, since we're kind of focusing on numbers, was the importance of falls are also that they bring us pristine material that you just don't get otherwise. We went to the moon 6 times and we brought back 842 pounds of lunar material from the moon. You get a fall like Allende, which is a fresh carbonaceous, that was 2 tons, right? So that single fall alone brought us more material than we brought back from the moon, and it's got a crust on it, but it's pristine material. So you tack on the fact that there was the couple Luna Russian return missions, and then you got Ryugu and a couple other missions we got coming back now. But we really don't have much brought back material versus how much fall material that we have that really provides us the best glimpse as far as volume to understanding our solar system.
I'm really glad you pointed that out because it's super true. We, like with Tarda, with Winchcombe, with Aquazarchus, those are all witnessed carbonaceous falls that are super important to science, and they were collected immediately. When you look at the fact that I have a 20-gram hunk of Aquazarchus, and they're spending how many millions of dollars to go to Ryugu or OSIRIS-REx mission, and they're hoping to get 20 grams to 30 grams in their container, and it takes multiple years. And don't stop doing science, but we'll collect them on the ground and feed them back up the food chain. You guys go out and out in space, we'll stay here on Earth.
Meteorites are the cheapest space program going, and we get pretty pristine material out of Antarctica as well. And so fresh falls are not the only way to get pristine material. If it's been buried in ice for 1 million years, it still has a lot of scientific value. The MetCam is running, and there we go. This is a meteorite that I bought in Tucson 2020, Sahara Overland. So this one is one that I've been studying for my couple of years. This is one that's very interesting. The outside of this one is really very colorful. The chondrules are all sorts of bright colors of orange and such. And yet, when we cut this thing open, the chondrules are really dark. The matrix between them is really dark. But the most amazing thing, this thing is full of metal and trollite. And I've not seen another meteorite with this many armored chondrules. I figure it's upwards of 25% of the chondrules are armored.
Wow.
And most of them with trollite. And when we look, at higher magnification on the other microscope, the trollite is not continuous pieces. It's little tiny blebs that form these patterns around the chondrules. The layers are not just one fleck thick. They, in many cases, there's 6 or 8 or even more flecks as you go from the center of a chondrule to the outside rim. So all sorts of questions of how did they do that trick that we don't have good answers for. This is the other one we cut as a warm-up.
Oh, wow.
That one. And it's fairly ordinary looking on the outside, but really quite pretty on the inside. And a lot of rust staining on this one, where you see a lot of oranges and yellows and dark reds in the chondrules. And a pretty nice little dark inclusion too, actually a couple of them. I suspect those are carbonaceous type material. So not a new fall, but first light of day for the inside of these 2 4.5 billion year old rocks.
I appreciate you sharing that. I want to share one last final show and tell thing. And I really didn't plan on showing this off because is it a witness fall? Yes, in my opinion, it is. And it's oriented, and I can't send Marco away without a little bit of stew. So this is my 1 kilo oriented Gadamus with impact scuffs.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
What a beauty, Topher.
Thank you very much, sir. You would know.
Stunning, man. Stunning.
It is uncannily. And then if you look at the backside, it does show the signs of orientation we all know and love.
Yeah. Very shallow regmaglyphs.
Nice.
That's a beauty, Topher.
Thank you.
That's not a super common shape. That's more of a nose cone than a shape.
Yeah, nose cone.
This would be the inbound bottom right here.
The quality of the crust is just outstanding.
Do you know how
also the elongated dragmaglyphs, Topher, on that side? Yeah, exactly. It's
when you look at it like that, it's coming right at you.
So cool.
This one I actually had to work to get this. But when I was in Tucson out in the desert, or actually this year, one of my friends got a delivery of, I think it was 340 kilos of Gadamus. And he said, you can have the pick of the litter if you unwrap them all. Now, these things were wrapped in plastic bags and then tape and tape and tape. And I don't want to cut and ruin anyone's rocks. So myself and Jason Utah sat there for about 2 hours, I think, and we opened up a 55-gallon drum one by one and unwrapped them. And I put that one aside and said, sold.
Well done, man.
Thank you very much. I couldn't send my homie away without an oriented nice witness one. That was fun. I thoroughly enjoyed this hangout. I enjoyed last week's hangout with our astronaut buddy, but this is the bread and butter, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for showing off all your witness falls. Have a great holidays, everyone. I'll see you on the
See you in a week.
Happy holiday. Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.